So welcome everybody. My name is Dr. David Williams from Global Digital Mojo, and we are the program leader for Emerge Japan. And currently we are in the middle of our seminar program. This is seminar 3 of 6. So we're just coming up to halfway through. And if I could I just have the seminar list on the screen? We've got, maybe we won't do that. We'll come back to the seminar list after the presentation, since we've had some technical issues for the presentation slides, so I don't want to upset the system. So we've already had 2 very interesting seminars. The first one looking at Japanese business culture, and the second seminar on Wednesday looking at the Japanese consumer. And I'm very happy today to welcome Mr. Shin Ito. Mr. Shin Ito is from Cross Border Innovations Incorporated. He's COO, and I'm very happy he'll be sharing today about business models and funding structure in Japan. I'm very happy because I've been working with Shin-san through the K-GAP program for several years now, and I'm very happy to invite him to lead seminar 3. So Ito-san, I'm going to hand over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. And thank you, everybody, for inviting me over to speak here at a very rewarding opportunity. And today I'm going to talk about the funding structure and how you may be able to get into Japan for your business. Okay, so the goal of this presentation is for you to understand what you should do to work with Japanese companies in terms of to get funding or to co-develop your businesses or whatever your purposes may be. The presenter, my name is Shin Ito. I am the COO of Cross Border Innovations. We very closely work with the K-GAP Plus program. And I am also the CEO of Ikoyo, which is a boutique consulting firm. And I also teach at Musashino University's data science department. Brief intro about myself in terms of work is that I started my career as an engineer at Ricoh. I was doing design engineer for laser printers, developing firmware, and I moved on to Advanced Micro Devices, Japan, where I did application engineering for a range of semiconductor devices, both hardware and software. And then after getting my MBA, I went on to a management role in a technology company such as Motorola USA and Precom USA headquarters. I did a new business planning and development for Motorola for the US and European markets for cellular infrastructure businesses. And at 3Com, I was managing a global business for networking products. Then I came back to Japan about 20 years ago, started doing a consulting and investment. Dream Incubator is an offspring of Boston Consulting Group. Top executives from Japan and Korea created this company to do BCG-like strategy consulting, as well as investing into promising startups and help them succeed in their businesses. And then I moved on to Intellectual Ventures. This is a private equity firm founded by Nathan Myhrvold and prominent business people. Nathan Myhrvold, as you may know, is the founder of Microsoft Research, and he was the CTO of Microsoft. Now, Intellectual Ventures is a company that invests into technology. Venture capitalists invest in young companies, and we called ourselves at Intellectual Ventures invention capitalist. So we went even further upstream to invest in technology and technological ideas. We invested into non-patented, not yet to be patented technologies, and made them rights to license or use them internally to create startups and so forth. After that, I founded my own company, Ikoyo Inc., to help large companies to do new business initiatives, as well as support startups on a global basis. And then, while I'm still working under Ikoyo, we founded Cross Border Innovations with the executives of ATR, which is the body that runs KGAP Plus Accelerator. In terms of academia, I did bachelor's and MBA in Japan and PhD in Japan. BS and MBA in the US and PhD in Japan. So in summary, I am a mix of technology understanding, management, and global businesses. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about the background of recent history and current state of Japan in terms of economy and companies. This chart is a summary that really describes that Japan has lost its competitive edge over the past 30 years. IMD, as you know, publishes ranking of competitiveness of countries. And in late 80s and early 90s, Japan used to be number 1. Now, last year, it was ranked as 31. In terms of the valuation of listed companies, Japan used to dominate 32 of the top 50 global companies in terms of market capitalization in 1989. And last year, it was only 1, which is Toyota. And so it has really dropped in terms of corporate ranking as well in terms of valuation. Going to the bottom left, sort of it relates to the earlier chart, which shows that TOPIX, which is the sort of an indicator of Tokyo Stock Exchange value, really didn't grow over the past 30 years, while S&P 500 in the US grew 13 times. And the income level of Japanese people really did not increase, while others increased substantially. So really, Japan is in trouble. And in terms of population, it grows steadily and drastically after World War II. In 1945 is the end of World War II. It went up so fast, and then it peaked in 2004, and it started declining. And it's pretty predictable how the population is going to decrease, and it's really a roller coaster. In 2050, it's going to come down less than 100 million people. And in 2100, it's much below the pre-World War II. So the population is going to come down drastically and fast. And that means the working age population is going to come down too. And so there is a severe decline of workforce. You can see that in the middle sort of orange section is the working age between 15 and 64. And you can see that it's going to become narrower and narrower. And that means that we need to deploy more aged people, 65 and above, into workforce or do something else. Now, there was an interesting recent survey conducted by Japan Chamber of Commerce and in conjunction with Tokyo Chamber of Commerce as of April. And they sent out a survey to companies and I asked, are you short of workforce, labor? And as you can see, 79.4% of transportation sector, 75.6% of construction, and so forth are all saying that they short on labor. And this may be a result of, these are sort of typical industries of that released full-time employment and re-employed as part-time employees. And this is the sort of the result of what they did in the past. So countermeasurement plan is to new hire of full-time employees, improve productivity of current employees, and invest in technology for automation and efficiency improvement. Okay, another indicator is that productivity growth in the past 30 years was minimal in Japan. This is in terms of GDP per capita from 1991 to 2018. So you can see at the bottom on the left, the right side, you can see Japan. It really didn't grow. So the productivity efficiency really didn't grow, and the GDP itself didn't grow very much. That is why the results. Taiwan did pretty well, and the previous 30 years, Japan did much better, and Taiwan did tremendously well in terms of GDP per capita, growth per capita. So what happened to the turnaround plan by Abenomics? Abenomics is the economic policy that late Mr. Abe put forth to change the situation. And it consisted of three things. One is the monetary policy, second is fiscal policy, and three is the structural reform for regrowth. Monetary policy, in conjunction with the Bank of Japan, they put up a lot of money into the market. And what happened is that it was not used by corporations for growing their businesses, but instead it went to assets like real estate and stocks, and particularly went overseas to the US. And as you know, the stock market really skyrocketed, as well as real estate. So monetary policy itself, they did quite a good job of doing this, but it did not work well as a whole, as the second fiscal policy was not really fully implemented. No, fiscal policy, as you can see, that income level of Japanese people didn't grow, and even the consumable money, dispensable income, even decreased. And you know that between 60 and 70% of GDP is consumption, domestic consumption. And so when they don't have enough income, really the GDP doesn't grow. And companies were hesitant because the consumers are not consuming. They were rather hesitant to invest into their businesses. Okay, and so what the government should have done is to have the government spend to create demand when the non-government public didn't spend enough. The government should have spent. That means the money spent by the government should have gone to the people's wallet, but that didn't happen. And third, structural reform for regrowth really didn't take place, in my opinion, at all. So the turnaround didn't happen. What about companies? They retained a huge cash balance, so they have a lot of cash in their account, but they did not spend for investment very much. It is a status quo and not enough challenge. They sort of lived safely with the status quo and didn't really invest in new things. But finally, many of them got serious about creating new businesses. And it is finally very late, but it's better than not doing so. In summary, Japanese realizes that it must change in a big way very, very fast, and significant improvement in productivity in terms of GDP per capita needs to be done. And the government and corporates are putting a lot of money and effort into digital transformation now. And create new businesses, they need to invest and challenge. And manage the aging society with decreasing population. As you saw, that the population is going to come down quite drastically and rather fast. And there's a lot of aging infrastructure, social infrastructure, such as roads, bridges, water pipes, and so forth, that need to be maintained. And people are still scattered around in rural areas as well. And there's going to be areas where the public utility will not be able to support them. So the sort of reform of townships need to happen as well. But that means there is a lot of things that need to be done, and these issues are on the other side. On the flip side is a lot of opportunity to work on, and there will be a huge investment to do so. Now, I would like to change pace to talk about the venture investment in Japan. Now, VC investment comparison by country. This is a percentage of VC investment in terms of GDP. So USA invests about 0.4% of GDP into as a venture capital investment. In Canada, it's 0.18%, UK 0.08%. Japan is 0.03. It's about the same as Germany, but compared to the US, it's less than 1/10, which I believe is too small. And the number of unicorn companies. Unicorn, as you know, are companies that are worth more than $1 billion while it's not listed. USA has, this is as of 2001 in March, 274 unicorns, and China has 123. Entire Europe has 67, and Japan has 4. So Japan doesn't have the right share of the number of unicorns as well as the value of unicorns. Capital raised by IPO, when they do the IPO, Japanese companies that go IPO in the stock exchange in Japan, they raise rather small amount of capital compared to, say, USA, NASDAQ. And the reason is that it's a lot easier in Japan to do IPO. They can do the IPO at a smaller size. That's one reason. The second reason is that the investment banks that buy shares and sell shares at IPO, I think, are conservative. And there's statistics that shows too, is that they buy at the price at much below the first public listed price. So that is the second reason why that Japanese companies who go IPO raise smaller capital. Now, this is an interesting chart. On the left vertical column is the dollar amount invested per round, and on the right side is the number of deals. And these are by the phases or rounds, and you can see that the amount of investment the US is putting is a lot, as you saw in the past, but they put a lot of money in later stage. That is why they put a lot of money. And Japan, they would not go through such a later stage. They do IPO. That's why the amount of later stage in Japan is much smaller. Now, looking at the Japan alone, money into startups in Japan is on the rise, as you can see over time since 2013. So it's come up quite a bit. And the post-money valuation by round has been on a slight rise. And I put this chart for your reference so that you can see where you may stand Are you in the Series A, B, C, and so forth in terms of post-money valuation? And value growth by round, it shows from Series A to B, B to C, C to D, and D to E, compared the year 2021, that's last year, and this year's first half. So from A to B, it's gone up about 150%. From B to C is a little bit less than 100% and so forth. So you can see that companies are growing in terms of value from last year. Now, who is investing in startups? You see that blue is VCs, and VCs include Japanese VCs, foreign VCs, and CVCs, corporate VCs. And the second largest is operating companies outside of corporate VCs, CVCs. And VCs this year has increased, and this is, I believe, mainly by investing into later stage companies, mostly into unicorns and near unicorn companies. Now, some thoughts on VCs. If you are looking for an investment from a VC in Japan, these are things that you may want to think about. There's locality, many VCs, and this is true not only in Japan, but worldwide, really. Also, true in Silicon Valley. They invest in companies that are close by so that they can talk to the leaders, management of the companies very easily. They can come and see what's happening and so forth. So locality is an important factor. That means if you come and want to get invested by Japanese VCs, you may want to, or you may need to establish a company, local entity in Japan, and relocate the leaders into Japan. Capital markets is the conditions of the capital market. The interest rates is on the rise, and because VCs use the fund that come from limited partners, and limited partners have choices of money where to allocate, and when the interest rates rise, then there are more, the alternative of their investment may change. In startup valuation, because of the abundance of cash, the valuation of startups have really gone up, and now it's a little bit inflated, so that in the past few months to 6 months, investors are looking at the valuation much harder. And the vintage of the fund, you know that VCs usually have a 10-year return. So when they start investing, after 10 years, they need to return the money to their investors who are limited partners. At the 5th year, they should have invested most of the fund, promised fund, and use the last 5 years to recoup the investment. So talking to the VCs, it's very important to see which year in vintage their fund is when you're talking to them. And pre-exit market is another factor that you should know, is that Japan is not very liquid in terms of pre-exit market. That means the VCs exit either having the companies go through IPO so that they can sell to the market, and or go M&A so that the companies get bought by some other entity and VCs sell to those entities. But like markets in the US, there is a third pre-exit market where there is no fund of funds who buy companies from VCs near the end of the vintage year. So there is some way to sell and get some return. In terms of that, Japan is not so liquid. So that's something that you should know. Now, motives for investment by investing entity, I here put operating companies, corporate VCs, and financial VCs. If you look at direct financial return and business synergies, when I say business synergies, they talk about strategic return. So for operating companies, they are really looking for strategic return, business synergies. When they invest in you, they are not really looking at a direct financial return. On the other side, VCs are really looking at direct financial return, not the business synergies. I mean, they are not in the business of operating as you do. And CVCs are somewhere in between. Because it's a corporate VCs, there are CVCs that really pursue business synergies, and there are CVCs that go really after the direct financial return. So you want to know, when you talk to CVCs, which stance they are taking. Is it the financial return that's important, or it's business synergy? In summary, investment into startups are relatively small in Japan compared with other countries, but steadily catching up. And the Kishida administration's policy emphasis on startups. He says that this year, 2022, is the first year of startups. It's expected that a lot of money is going to flow, and many of the policy is being instituted around startup investment. And tailwind with Japanese operating companies with open innovation. Japanese companies are finally think that open innovation is the way to go. So there's a strong tailwind to pursue that route. Working with Japanese companies, open innovation partners. So explore and establish a mutually beneficial collaborative relationship. You want to identify and work with companies to get funding or to expand your business in Japan. And based in Japan, you can expand on a global basis too. What is open innovation? You should all know what is open innovation. Create innovation by bringing external resources and capabilities to innovate. And what are external resources? Some of the examples are intellectual properties, IP rights, including technologies, know-hows, trade secrets, product services and platforms, customer access, distribution channels, and so forth. These are some of the examples. Why open innovation now? Companies cannot really innovate by themselves, alone in this VUCA environment. VUCA, as you know, is a acronym. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. You can sort of concur that the current socio-economic environment is really VUCA. An external environment is constantly changing and significantly changing. Products are too complex to make by one company, by oneself, while life of products have become very short. I mean, if you look at smartphones, it's really a mix of many products in the past. Phones, mobile phones, cameras, a computer, and everything else. It's a giant software computer system. So it's really difficult to implement such complex thing by one company. Technological advancement is extremely fast, and it's very hard to catch up in all directions. And unpredictable and unclear customer preferences. Customer preference is changing all the time, and customers, because of the internet, SNS, and so forth, have the power of information. It used to be that companies have all the information about products and technology. Now, because of the internet, that has shifted to the consumer side. So open innovation has become the reality among Japanese companies. Many large companies are actively seeking opportunities for open innovation. While it varies among companies, some are fully committed, and some have really established accelerators, and along with CVCs to invest. Some are experimenting still, and still some level of not invented here syndrome exists. This is particularly true in the research or R&D's research-oriented company. Not invented here. We don't want to. We have pride, and we don't want other people's ideas and technologies into our company. But these are much less so when you go into a more business oriented business phase of the development. Organizational structure and operational processes may be unstable, as many companies are still experimenting how to do open innovation. But I think it's going to get solved over time. So open innovation must be a win-win relationship. You offer to an open innovation partner and they benefit, vice versa. So it's not one direction, it needs to be bi-directional, and you both need to benefit over time. Sometimes at one instance, it may be one directional, but over time, this needs to happen to be sustainable. So to do open innovation, know yourself and your partner. What do you want to achieve? What do you want as a partner? Or who do you want as a partner? And what do you want from your partner and why? Now think about that. Why do you want to open innovate with a partner? What do you want to achieve? Who do you want as a partner? And what do you want from your partner and why? And on the other side, what can you offer that will benefit your partner? Why should they choose you among others? And why should they work with you now, not a year or two later? Motives for open innovation. Companies seek different things from open innovation partners by business phases. Usually it goes through ideation and idea exploration to proof of concept and productization and business. Now, when it's a new business initiative, usually it goes all the way from ideation to productization. Sometimes it ends in midway. And for existing businesses, there are already identified needs. So it's usually needs driven. And companies seek certain things, certain companies or certain technologies to implement what they want to do. Now, for ideation exploration phase, they are looking for new ideas, hints, and MVPs, the minimum viable products from the partner. And for POC phase, they want testable material. They want to do testing because it's the proof of concept. So it can be a prototype further developed from MVPs, or can be products, even commercial products or services. Now, further, when they go into productization phase, they look for fit of your technology or products or your company with their company, and reliability of such technology or products, availability and scalability, because they want to do a serious business. Now, your value add may be different depending on what the company's Japanese potential partner is doing in terms of new businesses. What value do you propose to your potential open innovation partners? Now, this is a chart that you see often. On the horizontal axis is the market. The left side is the current market, and right side is the new market. On the vertical axis is the products or services, sometimes technology, but on the downside, the lower side is the current, and upside is the new products, services. Now, companies are operating now in the orange section, where it says current products in the current market. When you propose your value to such situation, you may be able to say that it lowers your costs, or it can turn your products faster, or it can provide better performance, or you have more flexibility in creating derivative products and so forth. So this is a value add to their current business line. Now, if you go above, this is where they are looking at creating new products or services. And you may be able to say these are features that are essential and outstanding, totally new to make a new product, or new capabilities that allow the new products in the current market. Now, if you go to the blue section, you may say that your products or technology is a market entry enabler to go with the current product, but by adding your technology or products, it can go into a new market that the company has not explored. Now, into the red section, it's a new market and new products and services. This is a completely new products, services that you offer, and in combination with the capabilities of the company, you may be able to propose, let's make this type of new products or services. In summary, you are likely to get what you want as an open innovation partner in Japan. To get a partner, do your homework and prepare before you speak. Okay. Okay. We have spent about 50 minutes or so. This may be a good timing to chat around if you wish to do so. Any questions?
Itch-san, I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. Earlier in the presentation, you mentioned that Japanese companies have a very large cash pile. How do you see that playing a part in this change to open innovation and these new models of investment? Is that an important factor?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they have financial resources to challenge, and a new business initiative is really a challenge. And when they try, maybe 1 in 10 or maybe 1 in 50 may succeed in a big way. So they must have a financial stability, and they have resources to do so. So it's the necessary condition for such open innovation initiatives. Now the leaders of Japanese companies need to have the guts to do so. Good question. Okay, moving on. How do you prepare what you should do before you meet a potential open innovation partner in Japan. I would say know yourself. What is the strategic positioning? Think about why you even exist. And refine your business model, your whole story, your value proposition, and your uniqueness. What is unique about you and what makes you unique? These are two different things, right? What is unique about you and what makes you unique? So business model is a term that is really vaguely defined. You know, many people say, what is business model or what is your business model? I'm in the business of renting a bicycle. I'm in a subscription business of cameras, things like that. But business model is a description of your entire business. And you may have used in the past business model canvas. This really encompasses all the necessary piece. And I would strongly suggest to utilize it in your company in a team environment to really discuss and come up with an agreeable business model first. And then so that you can sort of succinctly describe your business model to others, including open innovation partners. Now, there are 9 boxes here, and there are too many boxes. So it's rather hard to see what's in here. So you can group it in this way. You can think about this business model canvas as a theater operation. Front stage is where there's performance of either music or a play. This is the front stage where there's audience and players. This is the sort of all the good things happen. Value creation, value sort of delivery, so that you can get ticket sale as a result. On the other side, you need to make this front stage happen. And to do so, you need the backstage. Backstage is where all the staff work together to create this stage, scheduling this stage and putting all the equipment onto the stage, and arranging actors and so forth. So there is a lot of costs associated in the backstage. And the ticket sale should be higher than the costs that incur to run the backstage and the stage. So that's sort of the overall picture of the business model canvas. And as an illustration, let's look at Google, as everybody knows about Google, and everybody uses Google every day. So the customer segments is users. It's everybody in the world. And the value proposition of Google to the user is to let users find information that they seek. And the channel is google.com, and you put keyword into the window. And the customer relationship is, very well automated. The users just, use the browser and put keywords in. So, you don't need to call Google to look for information, right? And it is totally free. The revenue is free from the user. It's zero from the user on the Google side. But to make this possible, key resources are IT infrastructure, and there is a lot of intellectual property that were developed by Google as well as purchased from others. These are the key resources, and key activities are software development to really implement services and network development to make a smooth operation possible. It's a distributed network. And key partners are electric power companies and telecom to provide pipes. And you need to spend, and this is the cost, right? Spend a lot on salary, very sophisticated engineers, very high cost. High cost of electricity to run servers, and telecom, the connectivity. So this is a really bad business, if you look at this. To provide value to the users, it costs a lot and there's no revenue. But on the other side, there's advertisers as a customer segment. And the value is to provide reach, targeted audience for advertisers through the channel of Google AdWords. And it's also automated, so it's very scalable. And to make this happen, to reach the target audience, it has a very large user base as a corporate resources. That's why it can provide good value to advertisers. Thus, they get a lot of money by keyword auctioning. So this sort of describes the Google Ads business in the business model canvas. Now, business model canvas has some variations. As an example, variations exist for different purposes. This is tuned for startups. They put early adopters in the customer segments, as the early adopters or even innovators are the ones to pursue first, so that the more conservative majority or early majority will come along later. And what is the unfair advantage? What is the solution that makes the unique value proposition possible? And what is the key metrics of activities so that you can measure the achievement level? What is the existing alternatives for customers or for key partners? So these are the sort of new things, the one in the violet, that the people play around to see what may fit for their needs, that derived from the 9 boxes. Now, exercise. I want you to describe your business model on business model canvas. So let's take 5 minutes or so and start writing. Who is the customer segments that you target? And what is the value proposition that you bring to the customer segments? What are the channels that your value will carry, is going to be carried to the customer? And what is the customer relationships? What is the revenue streams based on that? What is your key resources and key activities to make the value propositions happen? And if you can't do it yourself, what is the key partners? And what is the cost structure? Okay, so let's take 5 minutes and start writing this, filling in the business model canvas. Okay.
Ito-san, how would you like the audience to share their notes with you? Through camera sharing or through the chat? What would be convenient?
At the end of 5 minutes, I would like to have somebody who is courageous to speak, describe their business model using business model canvas on an oral basis.
Understood.
Is it about 5 minutes? Okay, who wants to go and talk about your business model in accordance with this business model canvas? No, you had only 5 minutes, so don't be shy. There's no right or wrong, and it's all only a starter.
Any sharing for Ito-san？现在是一个很好的机会，老师可以回你的想法。我们知道你们都很喜欢你自己的公司，所以这是一个很好的机会，你可以介绍的。有想法，你可以谈你自己公司的 customer segment 还是 value proposition， 一步一步可以谈起来的。
So people may be shy, or they are still working on it, and
maybe a little shy.
Yeah, okay, it's move on, but please use this as a good tool, and work on this in a team in your company, and this will give you a sort of clearer thinking about your businesses. Okay. So your value proposition, who is your customer that you chose? Who is not your customer? Customer, there's a boundary of your customer. Make sure that you have clear understanding who is not your customer. What jobs are they trying to accomplish? Now, this job concept I'm going to talk about more later. What are pain points? What value do you bring to your customer? How are you helping the customer accomplish the job? How are you relieving the customer pain? How are you helping the customer achieve what they wish? These are the concerns, points that you want to think about when thinking about your value proposition. Now, when we talk about customer segments, that's the first question. And you can start your business model canvas anywhere, but it's easy to think about customer segments first. So what is a customer segment? In the 4C, STP, 4P marketing framework, there's customer segmentation. 4C, STP, 4P model. 4C is the analysis of company, yourself, competitors, customers, and collaborators. And STP is segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And 4P is the marketing implementation, sometimes called marketing mix, that is products, price, place, and promotion. In this framework, the first S after 4C is the segmentation. And when you segment customers, there are usually demographics, psychographics, and behavioral. These are sort of the axes of segmentation. And demographics as a review is such as geography, age, gender, income, occupation, and etc. Psychographic variable is social classification, lifestyle, personality, etc. And behavioral is use frequency, use occasion, benefits sought, loyalty level, and etc. These are the usual segmentation sort of axes that you use, but we would like to add a fourth way of segmenting your customer, that is jobs to be done. And there's functional, social, and emotional. So jobs to be done, let's think about Starbucks. Why do you go to Starbucks? Anyone? Can anyone speak up? Why do you go to Starbucks?
I would say for myself, product consistency.
Product consistency. Is that why you go to Starbucks?
Yes.
You are not
so wherever I am in the world, I know I will get a consistent cup of coffee.
Ah, okay. Okay. So
not necessarily a good cup of coffee, but a consistent good cup of coffee.
So I guess, really, if it's consistent, isn't McDonald's better in terms of consistency?
A better consistency. McDonald's actually can vary in terms of water content.
Ah, really? Okay. But anyway, okay, I asked students in my university the same question, and this applies to a degree to myself too, but functional is really to drink a good coffee, right? You may be thirsty, so that you go there and cool down and get a good iced coffee or frappuccino, things like that, to drink, right? And so that is a part of the jobs you want. That's the sort of things you want to achieve. That's a job. Now, social aspect is that many of the customers who go there and open up laptops and pretend they are doing their job in Starbucks is that they want to be seen cool, that they are working in Starbucks rather than a cafe down the street, or rather than Dunkin' Donuts. The Starbucks creates this atmosphere that people who work there are cool. Now, what is emotional? What may be emotional job is that you want to sort of satisfy your emotional needs of being calm, for example. You want to relax. You want to spend the next half hour not being disturbed. That's your emotional satisfaction of being relaxed in Starbucks, for example. So there are three aspects of functional, social, and emotional in terms of jobs to be done by the customer segment. there is this jobs to be done concept was developed by Clayton, a professor at Harvard Business School, and a famous example of jobs to be done. The first example in his book is a milkshake. Now there's a, I guess, coffee shop in the suburb of Boston that sold milkshake in the morning quite a lot. And they did a research, and the answer was that they didn't really care for the taste of it, but they were looking for a company in the car, long ride in the morning to commute. And a milkshake, the frozen milkshake, is a good company to kill time with. It doesn't make the hands messy like donuts, but it lasts long because it's frozen, and so it can last while during the entire commute, and it tastes good too. But the real function was an accompaniment to kill time. So that's the jobs to be done, and that was the reason why they were selling so much frozen milkshake. Now, to really deep dive the value proposition, I would suggest to use value proposition canvas, and you put customer jobs on the right side, and in accomplishing customer jobs, what would be the pain points for the customer, and what are the gains that customers want to achieve, even unexpected gains. And in terms of value proposition, what would be your products or services that satisfy the customer jobs, either functional, social, or emotional, or a combination thereof? Is your products and services relieve pain of your customer pains? Or do you create gains of your customer jobs? So there is a good fit of customer profile and value proposition that you propose. Okay. I would like to illustrate this value proposition canvas as using an example of Hilti. Hilti is a 4 to 5 billion company in Liechtenstein that makes construction tools, as you see on the right side. And they used to sell to construction workers, and their value proposition was a high-end machine tools that were very reliable and functional. And the channel was sales and stores, sales force and stores, and the relationship was direct one-to-one, so that because they sell to construction worker each one by one, it was a transactional sales. And the resources were factories and brands, and they manufacture. Sometimes the manufacturing partners created parts that go into the Hilti manufacturing processes. And the cost was manufacturing and maintaining and improving the brand. So this was the old model, and they got shocked by an introduction of low-priced competitors from overseas. So they become troublesome. They were not profitable anymore, and they were wondering what to do. Now, they interviewed CEOs of construction companies and found that their job was to keep project deadlines, manage resources well, to allocate resources in the best way to create efficiency of the construction, and manage costs, of course, so that the project itself becomes profitable. And pain points are broken tools. When the tools break, there's a blank time so that they can't keep up with the deadline. And sometimes tools are stolen, so tool theft was a problem. And they can't do upfront investment. They get paid after the construction or midway, and they don't want to do upfront investment. And there was a big penalty costs when the delay occurs. So the CEOs were really under big stress. These were the pain points. And they wanted to have 100% uptime and predictable costs, profitable projects, and good reputation after all by completing the projects well. So what kind of value proposition Hilti comes up with is an online fleet management system. They used to sell tools one by one. Now they say this is going to be a subscription business. And when the tools have trouble, they exchange the tool at once, and they will do a quick delivery. And because of the subscription, the cost management is very easy. And they get access to the latest tools and immediate replacement, so there's no gap of broken tools, so almost 100% uptime. That is the value proposition they came up with. Now, an exercise I would like to have you do, perhaps after you return to your company with your team, is do the same. Customer profile. Who is your customer and what is the jobs to be done? What are the pain points and gains? And what is the value proposition that you propose? And what are the pain relievers and what are the gain creators? And is there a good fit between them? Now, the value proposition canvas goes into the business model canvas. The value proposition, the square goes into the value proposition, and the customer profile goes into the customer segments. That's how it fits all together in the business model canvas. And as an illustration, that's the continuation of the Hilti example. It used to be, this was the old business model. Now with the new subscription model, the customer segments became the construction company CEOs, and the value proposition was online fleet management system. The channel was consultative sales to the management and online operation. And the relationship became a long-term corporate relationship. And the revenue stream from transactional sales to large long-term contracts. And in terms of resources, now they need to have an inventory in addition to factories and brands, because they need to keep all the tools by themselves. Now, this was a big change in the balance sheet. And in terms of activities, in addition to manufacturing, it's a service fleet. And key partner, they added a vehicle fleet as a partner. And well, costs associated for services were added. So after the value proposition canvas, they fit it into the business model canvas. So the first part was to zoom in the value proposition and customer segments and describe the jobs and pains and gains in your value proposition, and zoom that out into the business model canvas to see if it fits. You saw that Hilti needed to adjust the key resources, channels, customer relationships, and key activities, even key partners. And the revenue streams and cost structure were modified as well. Okay, now shift gear a little bit, your uniqueness. Why should your partners work with you, not others? So this is a question that is raised all the time. There are many companies who approach companies and make proposals. And in the same sector and doing similar businesses, they wonder what is different about you. So what's unique about you, and why should they care? That your difference, your uniqueness, why should they care? Okay, on the other side is, what do you want from your partner? To implement your business model well, what do you want from your open innovation partner? So it's the key partner section box of your business model canvas, very left side. Maybe that's where this answer goes into. And who can provide what you want? The industry, size, markets covered, technology, etc. Open innovation partners business model. You may not be able to fill in the entire boxes in a precise way, but as far as you know, you should fill that in to understand their motives and what business and how they do their business using the business model canvas, and their strategic and financial situations. And how do you find your open innovation partner in Japan? You can go direct, of course, and you can use accelerators or VCs. You need to be selected either way, accelerators or VCs. And to get selected, your business model and your uniqueness questions needs to be very well answered. So that becomes a good preparation to do that. Or another way to meet with a open innovation partner is to use intermediaries like consulting firms. It costs money, but there are people who provide services to meet with and coordinate the open innovation activities. Cross-border innovation is one of them, for example. In summary, to meet your open innovation partners, know yourself, understand your potential open innovation partners, and use a mix of channels to meet them. So that's the end of my session. And here is the last page, apply for the local pitch on September.
Thank you very much, Ito-san, for that very comprehensive and interesting presentation. And I'm sure all of the teams have been making their own reflections on their companies, even they weren't able to share with you. You can be sure they have been working hard. Now, thank you for sharing the last slide. So I'd like to invite Tom to come back to us to remind us what happens after our seminar series is completed and what is this local pitch.
Okay.
Can I release my slide?
Yes, please. Please allow me to share.
Okay.
Ito-san, please stay with us. We'll come back for some questions after Tom's.
Okay. Okay. To begin with, I would like to have a quick reminder about the today. That is the third session. Next Friday is going to be our next session. That is going to be talking about Japan Smart City, and by the Yamauchi-san. That is going to be the next Monday, the same time, 2 to 4 o'clock. That's the first update, and the second would be going back to our the registration. Okay. Yep. Here it is. This is the i-event. From Ito-san's final slide, and I'm going to stop also in that QR code if you haven't applied. This is the i-event page. Before I even started to talk about this 我用中文说可以吗？我用中文跟团队说好了，因为大部分这边大家接下来要申请的都是大家都希望能说中文。有没有人不会说中文的？我可以用英文说。
我不会 Tom。
Okay， 你不会 Okay. All right.
没关系。
This is okay. We have only 1 week from the due day.
Tom 没关系，你可以讲国语，没问题，我在开玩笑。
没问题。好，I take that very seriously. 下礼拜5就是我们的这个，我们目前报名，接下来要去 K-Gap Plus。我们有一个 local pitch， 这 local pitch 的话，我们叫做这个交流不是交流会，是商谈会。那商谈会的时间的话，商谈会本身是在9月23号，但是9月2号就是下礼拜5。就会是我们这个商谈会报名的截止日期了。所以如果呢，您的团队是已经成立了2年的新创，你们有一个产品，它可以 demo， 它可以给客户 POC， 或是已经可以商用。那第3就是你们的团队有一个清楚的要去日本发展的一个目标，或是你们已经在日本的市场上面做了一定程度的努力，已经有了一些成绩， 那接下来透过9月23号的这个线上商谈会，或是我们叫 local pitch， 那就有机会跟国际背景的这个业界专家，就是提出你的提案，最终的话就有机会会有2家晋级前往日本这个 KGAP Plus 这个的这个，它是所谓的国际电气通信技术研究所，它就是这个加速器。待会我给大家，现在就给大家，待会给大家看，现在就给大家看一下这个加速器他们的所在。他们的这个加速器的话是在这个金板奈的这个区域。那他们有一个 complex 的 campus， 你看这是属于这一个 research 的 complex 的这个国家计划里面，你看它的活动都是跟 KGAP 有关的，然后在里面的团队，你看它是世界各地的这些杰出的团队，然后他们有密集的活动，有每个礼拜的 demo day， 然后有当地的许多的这些好的公司，他们能够在每个礼拜的每次的 demo day 里面，你们都有机会这个跟他们谈 partnership， 那其实可以把原本你可能要花几年才能够在日本市场能得到的这个信赖跟进展，都可以在短短的3个月的时间，透过这个第8期的 KGAP Plus 从10月开始的这样子的一个计划，能够这个得到这样子的计划，然后在日本加速。那接下来就要谈到要报名要做哪几件事。要报名做的第一件事就是赶快进这个 iEvent 的线上商谈会的这个系统里面，赶快去按我要报名，或者底下的我要报名，这是要做的，赶快要做的第一件事。在这个报名表里面，在下礼拜5下午之前一定要赶快先报名。报名的同时要赶快去按一下这个有一个商谈会申请须知。那你按了这个商谈会申请须知之后呢，它就会带你进入一个档案。那这个档案它就会下载下来，再到你的电脑里面，你就可以看一下，它 remind 你的 due day，remind 你要到系统去报名，它也提醒你，我们目前这个交流会今天是第3场，你在报名的时候，你至少要截屏你参加这6场里面的5场的交流会的画面截屏。那如果你在这方面有其他的这个情况的话，你也可以跟我们说你有这样子的情况。然后此外你要准备一份你的英文简报，用你们的公司自己的 template 这个模板就可以了。那里面要谈到你的 timeline， 你的产品是什么，那它给谁什么样的价值。我觉得刚才伊豆さん所分享的许多，不管是 business value campus 或是一些其他的这个 job to be done 这些模型，我觉得都很棒。然后在这当中把你怎么赚钱的 business model 说清楚。然后你们目前在日本，你们是有一些愿景，还是你们已经 made 了一些 progress？ 那你们的客户也好，你的 partner 也好，是潜在的，你觉得有希望的，或是你已经建立的一些 partner 的关系，都在这个 slide PPT 里面说清楚。然后你们目前的这个募资的历程大概是怎么样？那你们目前的财务状况是如何？这部分你有什么 concern 的话，你们第一个是我们绝对是会保密的，但是如果你有一些顾虑，你也可以把这样子的信息，我觉得就 highlight 一些重点就好了，至少让我们到最后去做评估跟分析的时候，至少能够对您的状况有一些的了解。那此外，你的品牌、你的 marketing 的计划大概会是如何？那就是这样子的一个 PPT 的 slide。那一定要记得要在截止期限，就是9月2号下礼拜5的下午6点台湾时间之前，你要确定你 iEvent 报名完成，然后你要发一封邮件给我。那这个 tom.lin@globaldigitalmojo.com 这是我的邮箱。那你要发的这个邮件的话，你的 title 要叫 Emerge， 然后那个 semicolon Japan local pitch， 然后后面是你的公司的名字。电子邮件的话，里面当然如果里面有什么 wrong spelling 或者怎么样，这是比较没有什么关系，但是一定要确定是寄邮件给我，里面要有你刚才所说的这份全部英文，刚刚所说的这份简报要用英文写，英文的简报的 PPT 的电子档，然后有5场交流会出席的，你截屏的画面 电子档寄到我们这里来。如果你有出席，但你有参加这些交流会、这些 seminar， 但你自己没有留下电子档，你们告诉我们，然后我们可以协助你们找我们的历史的 archive， 就是协助你。如果我们找得到，那就没有问题，我们能够 verify 你有参加，那就没有问题，我们能保障这个公平性。那第二就是您会在9月16号下午6点之前，你会收到电话或邮件通知你是不是入围9月23号的这6家商谈会的这些伙伴。那这6家的入围的这些厂商，我们还会对你们的市场是不是 ready， 你们发展的如何，我们还会有专家针对这部分会先做预先的评审，到最后也会给你们一些反馈。那最终这个9月23号评审的当天，我们现场的评量的话是，就是我们就是从您提交素材，然后到入围，这6家入围选拔的话，我们会有几个专家的评审组去选拔，根据你提交的东西是不是完整，是不是满足交流会出席的需求，你是不是创办2年，你是不是有是你的产品的完成度是不是 OK， 然后你目前有没有明确的去日本开展业务的这些计划？那如果你已经有一些 progress 的话，你们就更有机会，不仅仅是入围之后，还有机会成为这个最终2家晋级的公司的其中之一。那那如果说您还没有报名的话，那赶快趁现在的这个机会，赶快去。Am I showing the right QR code? Yeah, I'm showing the right QR code. 赶快就去拿起你的手机，扫描现在你面前的这个 QR code。
对啊，要尽快扫描的。
对，
这个是对的。
OK， 好。那等一下，你们现在有看到一个 QR code 在面前吗？
可以看到，可以看到。
OK， 好。那这目前，那请问大家有没有任何的问题？有没有什么问题？
早安，谢谢。在 Chat 也有 Ivan 的连接。
OK， 谢谢这个玉安在底下把 iEvent 的连接发出来，然后对，那同时我在等大家问题的时候，我也把刚才我觉得那个金板奈的campus 他们这个园区的画面风景，那个网页真的看起来很漂亮，你会很有感，你们可以看见你们去了那边之后，
说可以看到 Tom。
对。
好。
对。
好的，那谢谢 Tom 介绍。We have a little bit of time left before we let Ito-san run away and invest in his next company. We have around 10 minutes left for Q&A. So please write your question or ask your question, and Ito-san will be very happy to answer. Now is your chance to pick his brain, as we say. 有什么问题吗？你可以写，还是你可以讲起来的。日语也可以，中文也可以，英文都可以。
Hi, Ito-san. This is Tom from Mojo. I have a very quick questions about in earlier slide that you mentioned about that besides VC, the enterprise VC, the CVC and VC, that their operating company, that they should be a good partner that we tailwind and following them and working with them. Would there be any specific or particular example on those that you can share with us? Therefore, I think the team and the audience will have stronger impression about what are to be expecting and what would be the target partner or action to take on those.
Okay. Many companies, as I mentioned in my presentation, have realized that they need to create new businesses that may become in the future a big business of the next generation. And to do so, they have created a department in many cases and to exclusively work on new projects to create businesses. And sometimes they have money to invest. Sometimes they have budget to work on productization. And it all depends on who they are and where they are in the development of these initiatives. And sometimes when they are advanced, they have accelerators and they have CVCs, corporate VCs. And when they don't have corporate VCs, they have their own account to invest in partnering company. And for example, Sony, KDDI, NTT Docomo, they are famous for their accelerator, corporate accelerator operation, and there are more. And there are many CVCs, and they all have CVCs, the ones that I mentioned. Even a Tokyu railroad. I live in near Shibuya, and this line is Tokyu line, and they have a established accelerator as well as they have, I believe, corporate VC too. So in the area that companies and you are interested, I would explore that industry as well as sort of surrounding industry to see who may be actively working on open innovation as well as investment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Those are the operating companies that we refer to. Thank you.
Yeah, and then there are more. And even, mid-sized companies are, it used to be large companies, but even mid-sized companies. Like K-Gap Plus, we have worked with a very traditional mid-sized Kyoto company they matched up with an Indian company, and they are working on a project to produce new things.
Thank you, Ito-san. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, David.
Thank you.
More...
还有什么问题呢？今天大家这么害臊 ，very shy today. Since on Wednesday we had lots of questions. Today we seem to be very quiet. I think the companies are reflecting on today's presentation.
And I would suggest that if you are interested in learning more about Business Model Campus and value proposition,
we have a company would like to share their Business Model Campus. That's good.
Oh, sure, please.
可以的哈，只要打开麦克风就可以。
OK， 那个振兴科技的伙伴就请你分享，谢谢。你就可以说就可以了，不一定要那个 share screen。如果你们有，当然也可以，谢谢。
可以分起来吗？没有声音。如果没有
声音，那个
没有声音。
对，我们从系统看，您可能要修正一下您的声音的设定。Yeah, could be a setting problem.
If you're having a problem on the presentation display, you may be able to speak about your business.
Hello.
好，可以听到，可以听到，你可以
Okay.
算一下，谢谢。你可以
Hi,
介绍
Shusan.
介绍一下公司者。
Our company named All Aspect System, and we're doing unmanned aerial vehicle system integration. First, I want to share about our value proposition. Our company use unmanned aerial vehicle provide high efficiency and low cost water quality testing and water depth sounding. I think both of this testing is used in river reservoir. Yeah. And our customer segment is our inspection and testing company who did water quality testing for reservoir administration, and also environmental engineering company. And I think our customer relationship is the hardware selling and customization. And our channel is authorized distributor. And our key partner for now is startup, accelerator, and sensor supplier, and reservoir administration in Taiwan. And our key activities are project from government and schools, or exhibitions in Taiwan. And our key resources are, one of our member is the open source developer in unmanned aerial vehicle. And this open source have 70% of market shares, so which is also our unfair advantage. And our cost structures are investment fee, authorized rights, and etc. And our revenue is our data fusion for environmental engineering companies, such as bathymetric charts, which can help them to predict the depth of reservoir. And another, our revenue are just selling our hardware and software and maintenance. Okay, I finished our business model canvas. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you covered it well. A few things that I would go deeper is your customer segments, are inspection companies and environmental engineering companies, and what they are doing now. They are already doing some kind of methods to do the inspection in the water, but what are the real jobs that they are trying to do in the process, and what are the pain points that they are experiencing, and how you are removing them. If you can put that into the value proposition, that would be a great benefit to the client and to your business model.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you want me to share now or put in my business model canvas?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest that you work on it in your team, and there are some tips to do so. You know, I would suggest, and this is suggested by the strategizer who created this canvas, is to use sticker notes and only put one item on a sticker note, and so that you can move around, you can remove, add, change, things like that to really, you know, improve your model in a team. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a really good sharing, and I'm very happy to hear about UAV with an environmental focus. It's a very important area in Taiwan with so many natural energy resources. So that's great to hear. Well, we're coming to the end of our time today. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ito-san for his very interesting presentation. It's always my great pleasure to listen to his careful, considered delivery and discussion of key points. If there are any further questions from the audience, please share those through to us. We'll be very happy to pass those questions on to Ito-san. And if your company is one of the companies selected to go to KGAP Plus, you will be meeting Ito-san later, as he is one of the key mentors in the KGAP Plus program. So you will have the chance to work with him in more detail. So thank you very much, Ito-san.
Thank you.
Now, just to recap on the next stage, we have our next seminar on Monday, which will be led by Yamauchi-san, focusing on Japan smart cities. And same time, same place online, so please do join in. But in the meantime, we really welcome you to register for the local pitching, which will take place soon after our last seminar, which will be on September the 2nd. And remember, the local pitching is your opportunity to enter the KGAP Plus program in Japan. So we really hope that you can subscribe through the QR code that was given and the link that is through the link that is shown in the chat. And we can receive your application, and we will study it very closely in the market readiness assessment, the MRA. And if we are happy, we will allow you to join in the local pitching. So we're very excited to see. It would be great to see a variety of companies, different technologies, different target consumers, different business models. So we're looking forward to receiving your entries. Could we just have the QR code just up for a final slide, just in case anybody missed it? There it is. Please take a moment to scan the QR code so you can go through and apply for entry to the local pitching. And we'll be very happy to study your company presentation and maybe even your business canvas. If you would like to submit that as well, that would be both gratifying for me and also for Ito-san. You can see impact of his presentation. So thank you very much, everybody. We'll be back on Monday at 2 p.m. and please have a very good weekend. 周末快乐，谢谢大家。
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ito-san. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.